What is going on, guys? Everett13 here. Today I've got the Microtech MSI. I was super excited whenever I was able to grab one of these off of the Microtech drop. Was it 3 days ago? These things have been just absolutely selling out so fast, and for good reason, right? You've got a new manual folder from Microtech, premium materials, premium manufacturing. You know, this thing is it's really cool. It's going to be, well, MSI. Let's just go and jump into it. Microtech standard issue. This thing could be the standard moving forward. So I do think MSI is a very appropriate name for this knife here. So yeah, this is a full-size folder, right? It's got a 3.88 inch blade, overall length of about 8.93 inches. So this is a full-size knife. Speaking of, let's go and knock out some size comparisons here. There's a large Sabenza. Here is a Koenig Arius. Okay. Here is a Protec SNG and another Protec, the Malibu. It looks like that. And probably the most similar knife that I have to this guy is going to be the Demko AD20S, right? This one has a carbon fiber handle. So speaking of most similar, whenever I first got this guy out of the box, kind of the first thing I thought was, this is very similar to the Demko. And that's a good thing. I mean, especially when you consider the price points. So overall shape is about the same, you know, over all the dimensions are almost about the same on these guys. And then they also have kind of a similar locking mechanism, right? Of course, we got the shark lock here on the Demko, and the MSI has the new ram lock. Now, both of these they operate in a similar function where, you know, a spring mechanism is basically pushing a stop bar over the back of the blade back there. So they operate more similar to each other rather than they do to something like this Arius, where it's just a frame lock. So yeah, actually, let me bring the Arius back out. One of the things that did kind of surprise me about the MSI was the weight. Now, I'm not saying this is a heavy knife, but I have been carrying the Arius almost exclusively since I've gotten this guy. And one of the first things that I noticed was the weight difference between these two. The MSI is heavier than the Arius. In fact, I threw them both on the scale just because it was noticeable. And the Arius is 4.7 ounces, and this is, you know, titanium frame lock, titanium scales. The MSI is 5.2 ounces. Now, that's not a huge difference, but it did kind of surprise me. You know, whenever I knew it had G10 scales, I kind of thought it was going to be less than the Arius, but it does weigh a little bit more, and it actually is very similar weight to the Demko. So what I'm thinking is playing a factor there is kind of some of the steel components that go into, you know, these locking mechanisms like this. And of course, there's a steel back spacer back here. I believe that's steel. That may be titanium, but I know there's a little more metal going on in these parts, and so I'm thinking that might play a factor, you know. But yeah, so yeah, like I said, guys, just got this guy in. So obviously I've not had it in long enough to do a review. So this is just going to be kind of an overview, let you guys see what it looks like compared to some other knives that are kind of out there on the market. And, you know, I'll go ahead and kind of list off my pros and cons. So pros, price, $250. I mean, holy cow, this is all USA made. You've got a premium blade steel, and not only is it a premium blade steel, it's an exclusive blade steel. This is the M390 MK, so it's an exclusive kind of formula variant of M390 for Microtech, right? You've got it made in the USA, and like I said, this model here was $250 MSRP. There are going to be models coming out in the future with different handle materials. I know there's a carbon fiber variant coming. I don't know if it's going to be $250 also. I would assume it's going to be more expensive, right? But at least for the base model with the G10 handles, $250 for all USA made knife. That is just an absolute stellar value, right? What are some other pros here? Of course, like I mentioned, the you know, the maker is, of course, Microtech. You've got a very well-established American maker making this guy. So that's awesome. You're also getting some new kind of, you know, locking mechanism here, the ram lock. Now, it does kind of, like I said, does function in a similar fashion, but it is a new locking mechanism. So I think that's always cool to add something like that to your collection. So, you know, what are some cons to this guy? Well, the only con that I can think of is just availability. This thing's really hard to get right now. So as such, the availability is, you know, it's not very easy to get. So that's kind of the biggest con. Be patient though. You'll be able to grab one of these things at MSRP, and it'll be well worth it when you do. So guys, that is it. I don't think I've got too much more to say on this guy, but you know, it's something that I'm really excited about, especially moving into 2023, because you know, just when you think that there's not a whole lot more that can be done new in the knife world, Microtech comes out with this kind of awesome looking new folder, kind of to start the year off. And I know they've got some other things lined up as well, some of the other manufacturers. So I'm just really kind of excited to see what happens in the community moving forward. So yeah, guys, Microtech MSI, is this the new standard? Is this going to be the one to beat in 2023 as far as, you know, just standard type knife goes? You know, back in the day, I would say it used to be the paramilitary too. So this could be the new king of the hill for the kind of standard, do-it-all, basic knife. You know, I'm not saying basic in a, you know, in a bad way. I'm just saying in a hard use, no frills knife that's offering excellent value, American made. This might be the new king of the hill for 2023, guys. All right, that's it. As always, guys, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. And always, stay sharp.